Most of you, I'm guessing, heard Bob Iger sit here yesterday and rave about Magic Leap. And today we have the company here with us to speak. So I'm going to read this off the script so I don't mess it up. But they are developing a computing platform that enables people to combine a digital experience in their physical lives through mixed reality light field technology. Please welcome Rony Abovitz, the CEO of Magic Leap, and Brian Wallace, the CMO of the company. So most of you are probably familiar with what these guys do or have heard a little bit about it. But in case you haven't seen it, all it takes is really 9 seconds, and I think you'll get it. So we have a little video to show you. Right? All right, so what did we see there? What was that?
Well, that was a classroom full of kids, well, a gymnasium, and there happened to be a whale there. So that was an example.
Okay.
That was an example of what we mean by mixed reality, which is to the kids, the whale would just appear to be real, like you're there with it. That just happened to be coming out of the floor of the gym, and it was an example of scale and presence, and some of the really cool stuff we can do with this new kind of computing.
Okay, well, we want to take a deeper dive into what's really going on here. So we've got another brief clip to show you guys, and we'll have you explain what we're seeing. If you can try and look over at one of these screens. Can you see?
Yes, what I think we're seeing here is you're seeing a light field signal, and you're seeing an eye-brain system of a person, and there should be a little flying Pegasus in there. And it's really a good way to describe what we do, where we mimic and blend our digital light field signal, which is really trying to replicate how the world talks to your brain and how people evolved biologically into the physics of how light fields work in the universe. The light fields were there at the very beginning of the Big Bang. Biological systems evolved to interface with that, and it's how our neurovisual system really is designed to work perfectly. And the goal of the company was to turn your brain into a display, to build new personal computing, which was contextual, and not to have a display that you look at, to actually use the display nature gave us and to talk directly to it. And our little flying Pegasus is an example of like content creators, app developers are going to be able to use that display, the one we all have, as their new medium. And I think it's super exciting.
So it still requires glasses, though.
It's a lightweight headset. We haven't shown
another way of saying glasses.
Yeah. Well, the difference between glasses, glasses are like an analog computer. They do one app. And I think what we're doing in the first Magic Leap system, we'll have millions of apps, and it actually functions quite differently than regular glasses. We load it quite differently. But yeah, glasses are like the first analog computing app that you wear, and they do a good job. I'm wearing them right now.
They're working for both of you.
I guess so, yeah.
We have them on right now.
So explain a little bit more, though, because we're all familiar with VR and AR, and how is MR different?
Sure. So I call what we're doing a mixed reality light field. And the reason we're saying that is VR, at least the way people think about it today, is you generally put a cell phone type screen right in front of your eye in some kind of compartment, and it's sort of like a stereoscopic device. Original idea for stereoscopy came in the 1830s. So it's sort of continuing that design idea on. We don't do that at all. We do something fundamentally different. And AR, most people associate with like a Terminator heads-up display of text information, like an overlay on top of the world, and that's not what we do either. We're really giving you like a neurologically true visual perception, the same way you are there like with your light field and sound field. As long as you're not touching something, our digital objects, environments, and people really are neurologically true. And it's one of those things you have to experience directly to believe, but it is, that's
so that could get weird real fast if you're walking around and not sure what's real and what's not.
We are definitely looking at like style guide and design for UI, and how digital objects, like, we've made digital people stand in front of you. So how should they behave against real people? So I think making them maybe a little brighter, a little hyper-real is good to distinguish between what's Magic Leap and what's not.
There's actually a fascinating example. If you ever make it down to Miami and see the product, there's a test we do where there's a digital object floating in the air, and you put your hand in the same place. Now your brain has to make a decision that two things can't or be in the same space and time. So every single time with every single person who's done this, your hand goes invisible. Doesn't go transparent, it goes invisible.
Yeah, you disappear.
That's how real the object is to your brain.
Wow.
So it does create those dilemmas, though.
Okay, so Pokemon Go, that's AR.
Awesome.
What would it look like with Magic Leap?
So Pokemon's awesome, love Nintendo. So you hold up your phone, you see cute little Pikachus or whatever running around the world, and it's sort of like a 2D graphics overlay looking through your cell phone or mobile phone video stream. In Magic Leap, I would see Pokemon just like I see real people, not looking through a screen. The way everyone exists, you could have small Pokemon running around, hiding behind chairs, gigantic 500-foot Pokemon flying in the sky. It would be pretty epic. So, but anyway, we love what they're doing. I think it's a gateway to a whole new future that we're building the next thing for.
How long have you guys been working on this, on the technology? And you by the way, you were telling me that you got the idea for this when you were a kid. So maybe talk a little bit about that first.
Yeah, looking back at like little notes and notebooks I have, I think I've been incubating concepts for Magic Leap since I was a little kid, overly influenced by sci-fi and comics and things like that, and then doing engineering and physics and biomed in school. Formally got started in 2011, and the company, I was the first angel into the company. Formally kicked into gear like 2012, 2013, we started to get real rounds of funding. But I had a notebook from college where I was like designing what became Magic Leap kind of stuff as well. So I think it's been in the back of my head waiting for a moment to actually actualize it.
When are you actually actualizing it?
Great question. So we're over 600 people. We have our systems working. We have a big factory we took over. Motorola had a really big factory down in South Florida. We've taken over a big part of that campus. We have production lines that look like aircraft carriers that are Class 100 clean rooms. That's running right now. We're debugging our high volume production line made in the United States this summer. So we are in that go mode, and hopefully soon-ish,
Yeah, I think
the public will see.
I think it's important to understand there's already external developers working on our systems day in, day out, creating content and experiences. We have people in our offices who are wearing these things all day for hours at a time, building out experiences. So this is very real. It's not in research mode anymore.
Yeah, it's not a decade out, like it's happening right
But
now.
not that many people have actually seen it and experienced it yet.
I think we've had, probably at this point, I think we've had thousands under NDA. So we've been pretty good
They
at.
can't talk about it.
They can't talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that did come out and is public, though, is your partnership with Lucasfilm. So can you explain how that came about and what plans are?
Go ahead.
So I'll start it. And so one of the folks at Lucasfilm, John Gaeta, who's a good friend, he did The Matrix, obvious connections, reached out some years ago, and then another great advisor on the team, a guy named Mike Corrigan, reached out to some folks who knew Kathy Kennedy. And this was some years ago, and then we started to just build a relationship. And they saw us actually deliver on all this fanciful stuff we were talking about and like really make it happen. And from the very beginning, we started doing tests, like AT-ATs walking around the office and X-Wings flying around, which are just insanely cool. And so we have a secret lab on the Presidio campus, right outside from the Yoda fountain. If you've ever been to Lucasfilm in San
The
Francisco.
secret lab, which you just told us exactly where it is.
Well, it's not so
Yeah.
secret anymore because we'll have a part that cannot be accessed by regular people, which is just be from Magic Leap Lucasfilm Development. And then there's a Bay Area developer lab we're building out that all kinds of devs from the Bay Area can come in and hopefully hang out and build stuff before launch.
Other partnerships in the works?
Yes.
What kind of applications? I mean, what is this really going to do? It's amazing to see,
Yeah.
of course.
I
but
think
what is this going to do?
especially for our company, a lot of the WoWs coming from the Whales and Star Wars, etc. It's very exciting. It's going to be wicked cool. Pokemon, everything we're talking about. Where I'm just as interested is its applications in the office, productivity, etc. Think of this like when a tablet came out. We talked about tablets was gaming at first, but very quickly it made its way into the office and became an essential tool in the office. I see this product just following a similar path, where people are going to use this for entertainment and media and games at home, and then they're going to take it to work, and it's going to give them a competitive advantage. Day one, absolutely day one.
And you guys are actually having employees at some point totally switching over to Magic Leap, no laptops, no...
Yeah, before launch, my goal
It's
is
going to look
that...
like the weirdest office ever.
Yeah, it'll be
Or the coolest. Or the coolest. Yeah.
Or the coolest, but both.
Although, what we're designing is not so crazy looking. It's sort of more subtle. But the goal before launch is that if you're a Magic Leap staff member and all of our developer friends, we're pretty much wanting to get people into it all day long.
Yeah.
Our goal is all day, every day, regular kind of computing, where instead of a small screen, you have the whole space of the world around you. And it's contextual, so you could walk into a room and it goes, "Hi, Michale, here's your meeting," and a note follows you around the office. It could be mundane, things like that.
And
It'll be like a Harry Potter world. That's a good way to describe it.
I think that's what's so important about that video, and it's hard to absorb, but because we're using the brain and the eye system to generate these images, we don't require all that computational power to generate what essentially is a new world or a display. So that allows us to make a device that's very small, lightweight, and portable. No one else has a solution like this, which is going to allow us to have a form factor that you're not going to mind wearing out in the world every day.
We could just add to Brian, we're super people-centric, so we think, the human brain is amazing. It's got 100 trillion neural connections. I think it's a very powerful quantum computer. We're just a co-processor to it. I can't even take credit for some of the amazing things we've done because the brain is doing it, and we're just not getting in its way. We're just asking it really nicely to do stuff for us, and it's kind of incredible. And we see a future of symbiosis between people and computing serving people, centered around the person. That's sort of our vision of where we think things should go.
I want to turn to you guys for questions in just a minute, so be thinking about them. But real quick, so you've raised more than $1 billion. Is this
It's very hard to say out loud. Yeah.
What's that?
$1 billion.
$1 billion. It's really
crazy.
fun, yeah. But what's the most expensive aspect to this, to developing
So
this?
we're building a full stack computing company. We do the hardware, the software, the electronics, the chip design, sensors. We have a content team that's doing our first party, although we're doing second and third. The UI, we're kind of like a baby Apple in the sense that nobody really takes on the whole problem. And the reason we took on the whole problem, including the manufacturing, was we just wanted to deliver something that never existed before. And there's no way to do it unless you design it all. So that was the exotic part of the company. It's not like we're making an app. We have to literally make everything from scratch to allow this future state of computing to exist. So it's a little scary, but we're doing it.
Questions from the audience? We've got a few over here waiting for a mic to come over. I think you're getting one. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Stephen Wolf Pereira from Newstar. Phenomenal technology. I would love to understand what are the other use cases outside of the entertainment field, because certainly this could have huge implications for medicine, for other fields. And then second question, how is this super cool company in Florida?
So the use case we're targeting, there's games and entertainment and sort of mixed reality, episodic stuff. Seems like the obvious dessert, but media, communications, productivity, healthcare, we're really excited about that. Some great folks in healthcare have been by. Amazing things you can do, not just visualizing, but maybe to monitor and diagnose and even help treat. So we're building a computer. Computers do a lot of things, and you have to sort of target a couple areas first. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, imagine, I'll just ground it in some specific examples that we're working on. We have a thing called Look By. So I'm looking at your sweater, I'm just like, wow, that's really nice. My system recognizes I'm looking at your sweater. Amazon pops up and says, oh, I noticed you're checking out a sweater. If you buy it now.
Or Alibaba.
Or Alibaba, yeah, thank you. Sorry.
An investor.
One of our
Investors, yes. Any e-commerce player.
We like Jeff too.
Yeah, exactly. Recognizes that, makes me an offer, says if you buy it now, you get 10% off. I also look down, I can see myself in it, closed, done. All that happens, you don't even know that happened as I was doing it. Or I want to see what a couch looks like in my
e-commerce.
That's going to be crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and
Florida, the very short, my parents moved from Ohio. I was born in Ohio in Cleveland to Florida because it was warmer. And I love Cleveland, but it was freezing, and still a Browns fan. So
it was either Cleveland or Florida to start a company, and you...
I didn't know better. It's like 100 million times harder to start a company in Florida. But now it's like a badge of honor. It's like, like we did this in Florida, and it's like, holy cow, nobody does that. But, NASA, we went to the moon in Florida, and like Walt Disney went there, so there's some precedent.
There's some magic.
Yeah.
Other questions? think we have one over here. Can we get a microphone?
Rick Chavy with Interworks. If you could explore maybe a little bit more about the B2B side of this. So I'm thinking the convergence with like aircraft. You're designing the plane, the engine, whatever, and you have the CAD system, or on the back end, the maintenance, and now I've got to envision what parts are wrong and need to be fixed. Do you have thoughts in mind for that?
Yeah, so I'll throw
Yeah,
it.
please do.
We're definitely exploring a lot of interesting B2B. There's a lot of back-end software that we don't necessarily going to build. We're like the user-facing side. But we've actually built CAD stuff. A friend of mine, John Herstig, who founded SolidWorks, has a new company, Onshape, and like there are parts floating in front of you, edited in real time. You can see a full-scale jet engine. You can see a real car, a little fork, whatever you want to build. So, and multiple people can experience it simultaneously. So there's definitely a very cool B2B thing, and we're having very quiet discussions with some large-scale partners. So we're focused on consumer first, but there are B2B partners that are coming out to us. So. It's a computer. People will build a lot of cool things with it.
I think we're really excited as well is what happens to the world, and especially in the enterprise, when you have persistent access to all the world's digital information, like consistently and seamlessly. So how does that improve productivity? How does that make social interactions better? How does that make you appear smarter than you are? We have the same back in the office. If you take off our system, your IQ is going to feel like it dropped 300 points. So you're going to always want to put it back on. So I think it's going to have profound impacts in the enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, just on Brian's last thing, we definitely believe that AI should be there to serve people, make you smarter, and that could be really useful in business.
Question over here.
Hi, Joe Marchese. Question on what did you learn from Google Glass? And after they came and invested in you, is that part of the reason why Google didn't move forward with it?
So I'm very friendly with Sebastian that ran the project and Sergey. They're awesome people. I give them a huge amount of credit for like just jumping in. I mean, Sergey actually, I think, jumped out of an airplane for being first. And think of this as like, Mercury to Gemini to Apollo. Someone had to be Mercury 1, and that was Glass, and there was a lot to learn from it. So I just give them huge credit for having the bravery to come out there and get in there first. We're doing things that are quite different. Our visual experience is fundamentally different. They were more of an overlay with a wearable camera. We're more about contextual computing with insanely rich visuals. But we did learn a lot, and they've both been really helpful to me in sharing their good and bad. Yeah, so to address that head on, we're gonna have to get like the young man's and the young woman's primer to mixed reality social etiquette. And we are working to prepare society, and we think home first, workplace, third place, then you gradually make your way outdoors. Society we have to learn these rules. There's social behavior that, like phones, people don't make eye contact, they're on their mobile phone. You don't want to be on a date watching a Pokemon instead of paying attention to your date. So there's all kinds of things that we'll have to learn. And by the way, we'll need everyone to help us figure that out. But that was a deep learning. I think Glass taught there are societal etiquettes that need to be developed.
For sure. Question over here.
Hello. Hi, Jennifer Cooperman from Alibaba. Congratulations, guys. We love you. I have a question about being mainstream. So, Brian, you were just talking about consumers in the world kind of using this stuff. What is the time frame of this being mainstream, and what, from an infrastructure standpoint, needs to be in place in the world for actually that to be true?
That's a good question. So I've been in consumer electronics my entire career. I was at BlackBerry, I was at Samsung. So I've seen these adoption curves. Most people think that technology, especially digital technology, happens in a linear curve. It doesn't. So I think the adoption of these types of devices is going to happen a lot faster than anyone thinks. That being said, is it going to happen year one? No. Is it going to happen year two? Slowly. By year three, so that puts us in the 2020s, you're going to come to a conference like this, and I guarantee you 70-80% of the people here are going to be wearing a device like Magic Leap. Because it is going to be such a profound differentiator in your life. It's going to make your life happier, better, smarter. You're going to see the adoption of these products happen very quickly. What's required is the price of these products need to drop. They need to get lighter and smaller, which they are, and then you need to be able to have channels to sell them in. And the good news is that we have lots of friendly competitors in the business who right now are helping us build this category and build awareness.
I do want to emphasize it is a journey like iPod to iPhone. I mean, many generations, and the first iPod was great, and then the next one was better, and then the first iPhone was cool. And I think the world just has to think it's a journey you followed along, and hopefully each event is cool and interesting.
Other questions from the audience? Well, let me just ask you guys, oh, there's one over there. We'll go there real quick.
First of all, congratulations. I'm from Dakadu. I think it's a super cool thing you are building.
Thank you.
I'm doing what you call health scoring, so we score people's life in real time, their health, etc. And with what you're doing here, we're going to see a big social change. How do you see that social change coming, and how do we avoid that, people don't become completely living in their own world? Have you kind of given that a thought?
So let me throw one thing on, Brian. The whole point of Magic Leap was to actually take you away from staring at a foreign screen and actually go back to hundreds of years ago where you spent just lots of time with real people and real friends and real environments. Like, it's so beautiful here in Aspen. And we wanted digital information to sort of just be part of the landscape, not taking over. It's not taking over. It's just like one of you people could be a digital person. It's just kind of there, just like a plant is there. So it was really to make people just go back into the natural world and to appreciate everything that's there, and then have your digital information kind of lightly integrated into it. So that was really a core part of our mission philosophy. And people can abuse everything, so I think we just have to be very careful and roll things out and provide safeguards to parents and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, we take that point really, really seriously. The way I think of it is this is a tool to enhance your life, not to replace the reality of your life, as Roni was saying. The thing that I always think about is I have 2 little young daughters, and we have a relatively modern house, so it's stark and white, and they hate it. They want colors, they want rainbows, they want unicorns. So with a device like this, they could have the house exactly like they wanted. And to your point, we can share those experiences. So I could, my young daughter, Kindred, she could say, Dad, do you want to see what the world looks like through my eyes? Absolutely. And now I'm seeing this weird, wacky, colorful world. So I think that's going to enhance the experience we have together, because she's going to have a very strong say in how the world is around her. And I think that's a good thing.
On that note, any medical, psychological applications for this? I know your previous company was in the medical space.
So I'm a biomedical engineer and have a med tech background. I did surgical robotics, a company called Mako before. So
Which was
definitely.
a nice exit.
It was a good exit. Definitely there are. I think there could be great things to help with ADD, with all sorts of things. So those are, we actually have a team. We have a pilot healthcare team in the company who are working with lots of hospitals and some of the best med tech companies in the world. And we're at the very beginning stage of exploring what that looks like. So I'd say more to come. And that will follow consumer.
Okay. I think we had one more just very, very quick question over here because we're almost out of time.
Yeah, just to follow up on your comment.
You're getting a microphone, right?
Okay.
I think. One sec. You guys will have about 30 seconds to answer.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up comment on your observation that your children can create their own environment. I'm very curious about the role the consumer can play in creating as opposed to other people developing content for their consumption, if that's the right way to think about it. So will the individual user be able to get in the environment and play around and create their own stuff as well?
Yeah, I'll start. You can finish. Great question. In fact, this is something we obsess over back in Florida. For example, so developers are going to be very key, very strategic for us. We also, but we generally don't refer to them as developers. We're referring to them as creators because we want everyone to be a creator on our system. So we want you to be able to generate content and then share that content with the rest of the world. So you imagine creating digital assets, capturing things in your world, and then share them so other people can download them. We absolutely want this to be an interactive, kind of creative product as much as just a passive experience product.
And in 10 seconds or less?
Yeah, we believe in human creativity could save the world, so.
Awesome. Good words to end on. Thank you guys so much for coming from Florida.
Thank you.
I'll meet you back out there. Thanks.